Please be seated. It's a fairly common thing to get together with friends and folks to eat at a restaurant. And it's usually a very fun kind of time. It's a time to get to know each other. It's a time to laugh with each other, sometimes to cry with each other. And it's a very enjoyable kind of thing. It's a special kind of time together. But when you go to someone's home and you go there to eat, it's like you move into sacred space. It's holy ground. It's their place. It's where their secrets are. It's where they are in a way that they aren't anywhere else. And it's a wonderful kind of time to have, no matter how many times you may go into that same place. When is the last time that you went to someone's home for a meal? And when you went in, they invited you to sit down. And a host came over to you and took off your shoes and began to wash your feet. Happened recently, has it? Not with me. Well, perhaps after that happened, someone took an expensive balm or perfume and began to rub that on your feet. Has that happened lately? Not with me either. Then did they take down their hair and dry your feet with their hair? I think I've missed out. How about you? There's something very intimate, almost embarrassingly so, about our gospel story today. John tells us that Jesus has gone to Bethany to visit, and he's been invited into some folks' home to eat. And as he sits down, Mary comes over to him. Mary is the one that John tells us is the one that Jesus loved. Dan Brown went wild with it. She comes over to Jesus and she begins to wash his feet. Now that may be strange for us. The act of washing his feet was not a strange event at that time. It was a symbol of hospitality and welcoming. However, the thing that should never have happened is a woman should never have washed a man's feet. So this is scandalous. But she doesn't. And then she takes this jar of expensive ointment, perfume. Some estimate by today's standards worth about $10,000. And she begins to wipe his feet with this. She shouldn't have done that. It's not acceptable. And then she does something even worse. She takes down her hair. She should never have done that in the presence of other men than her husband. She should never have done that. She took down her hair and she wiped his feet. Just reading it, I want to look away and glance back. I want to see what's going to happen, but I don't want anyone to know that I'm this curious. Well, Judas Iscariot, John wants us to know that his motives are not pure. He tells us he's the one that's been keeping the the disciples' treasury, and he's been stealing from it. And he raises this really, really important question. Why has this expensive balm not been sold and the proceeds given to the disciples' purse so we can disperse it to the poor? Makes sense, doesn't it? That's what we're about, isn't it? Now, John wants us to know he was going to steal some of it, but still, with that, it's a sensible sort of question. So I'm pondering this thing, and I'm trying to get a handle on where this is going and what's happening. And then I began to remember, this isn't Jesus' first trip to Bethany. He was there a little bit before this happened. You know why? He was there to raise Lazarus from the dead. The very Lazarus that's sitting in the room getting ready to have dinner with him. When's the last time you had dinner with a dead man that wasn't dead anymore? And then I began to think about that. And I began to think about how much Mary must have loved Jesus. And how grateful she was that he had raised her brother from the dead. And I thought this extravagant kind of thing that she did, this huge thing that she did, and then I realized, what is too extravagant a gift for the person who raised your brother from the dead? What is too extravagant a gift for Jesus? It makes sense, doesn't it? It makes sense. Here she was. She loved Jesus, and part of her love was fueled by this deep appreciation and gratitude. How better to show that than to throw away all social traditions and just do the most loving thing that she could ever do for him. She did it because of who he was to her and what had happened. But I think there's more to this story. There usually is. And I think Jesus nails that part of it in his phrase at the end. In his response to Judas, he says to him, "The poor you will have with you always." We like to stop at that. But me, I'm not going to be around long. And she's thinking of my burial. You see, I think Mary, knowing how things were and how things had been, could see the journey that was taking place. I think she could understand better than we could, probably, what was about to happen. That it was a journey that was going from Bethany to Jerusalem, and from Jerusalem to the cross. And that it would not be long before she would take this expensive ointment and go to his tomb to anoint his body. And I think she knew something more about that too. I think that she knew that this was a journey of love. And that what he was doing was the most loving thing that he could do for anyone. He was going to walk this walk. He wasn't going to run away. What is too extravagant a gift for the God who is willing to come down and walk not just the mountaintop experiences, but walk through the streets of Jerusalem and bear a cross and die with us that we may live again. Is there anything too extravagant for God in our response to Him? In Rite 1, in Prayer 1, the Eucharistic Prayer 1 of Rite 1, there is this beautiful, beautiful phrase. And here we present unto Thee ourselves, our souls and bodies, to be a holy and living sacrifice unto Thee. When I think about it, I don't have enough to give to God who died with me and dies with me and walks with me and rises again with me. I don't have enough. All I've got to give is me, my soul and body. I look at myself in the mirror. That's not very extravagant, but it's what I've got. And it's what it means for us to journey with Jesus from Bethany to Golgotha and an empty tomb. So what is it? What is it for you? What do you have to give to a God who loves you more than you ever thought anyone could love you and anyone else does? Enough to die with you. What is too extravagant for God?